Focused on Horizon Europe Cluster 2 and the optimization of project results, of course, in the benefits of the skills for smart specialization. My name is Mina Stareva. I'm a Deputy Head of Unit in DG Research and Innovation, responsible for health and societal transitions. This covers also the coordination of Cluster 2 of Horizon Europe, but also the integration of social sciences and humanities across the entire program and services in the Commission. Today's session, it is being recorded. We are also followed online, so thank you very much for those who follow us online. It's a complement to actually the tour of the Horizon that we did on skills for smart specialization. So during these 2 days, we have learned and we listened a lot about good practices across countries and regions, the new challenges that the EU is facing, focus on competitiveness, on where the Europe performs best to close the innovation gap, hence research and innovation. We also listened to some large-scale initiatives, such as European research infrastructures. Someone mentioned also the joint undertakings as public-private partnerships for also connecting all actors together and attracting more SMEs. And now I would like to put back the focus on Horizon Europe. And in particular, of course, Horizon Europe supports the objectives of this conference, so skills for smart specialization through targeted funding, projects, public-private partnerships that all foster regional innovation, capacity building, and upskilling. So having said that, I'm extremely happy to actually introduce the panel of today, which you will see it's a very complementary one. Of course, together with us, we have, and I will start by this order. So together we have Roberta Ricucci, who is actually a professor at the University of Torino and in the Department of Culture, Politics and Society. She's also the project coordinator of Kids for All, and we are going to hear more about this in a few minutes. Then next to her, we have Dr. Dániel, who is actually the head of Education and Labor Economics Research Unit at the Institute of Economics, Center for Economic and Regional Studies. And next, we have Kimberly Couvson-Liebe, and of course, apologies if I don't pronounce your name correctly, please correct me afterwards. So she is the National Contact Point Coordinator of the project representing all national contact points on Horizon Europe Cluster 2, a huge role also when it comes to optimization of project results and link to smart specialization. So with this, of course, I think that without further ado, we can start with the presentation. Focus would be a lot on education. We learned a lot, but of course, this is a very clear commitment also on the side of the European Union to strengthen education, the quality of education for all, of course, training as well across the borders in every community. So this is key for us, and the Commissioner Minzato, who just started her mandate, responsible for education and skills, repeated that during her hearings. So let me probably start with Roberta and the coordination of Kids for All, where the focus will be, of course, on the impact of the projects and contribution to smart specialization. Thank you very much.
Should we start with the slides?
Maybe.
Maybe? No? Okay. So, thanks a lot and good morning. If I rightly understood, we are recording, so this is why I cannot move far away from the podium. It would be very useful to me because I'm not so taller than the podium, but doesn't matter. I hope that you can see me. Oh, great. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. It works? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to present a couple of results of Kids for All, key inclusive development strategies for lifelong learning. So the project belongs to Horizon 2020, not to Horizon Europe, but it is quite in tune with the conference we are in these days. So we are speaking about skill development in the Smart Specialization Strategies, and Kids for All has been focused on how to develop skills starting from children. So in a certain way, we have looked and have tried to be focused on the next generation and on those who will speed up and develop our strategies. So Kids for All has been a huge project, as you can see, according to all the mentioned partners, and as a coordinator, I have to say that it has been a huge workload as well. By the way, it has been a great challenge and a great honor to me to coordinate the project, which has been focused on developing a kind of a new learning methods, starting from one specific focus, which was to try to improve the educational success among migrant children in Europe and beyond Europe. But migrant children has been only as kind the first gatekeeper, because promoting inclusion means also working with other children, means also working with institutional, non-institutional, and informal learning environments. And in a broader sense, it means working with the whole society. So this means that the project has been, of course, focused on children, but we tried to develop tools for the whole society at all. So Kids for All has been an innovation action project. So please avoid any stereotypes, thinking, okay, she's a professor, she came from the university, so maybe she's going to speak about a lot of research findings. Sometimes it happens. Also, universities could do something good and in a better way when jump in the field. And we did our best, and proudly, I have to say that we have been recognized as a successful project by the European Commission. So we developed a specific learning methods, preparing learning units, dealing with 8 different lifelong learning skills, and we translated all our learning units in 13 different languages, addressing needs of children between 10 till 19 years old. And it has been a very useful tools. Unfortunately, in the outbreak of the Ukrainian war, because thanks to the project, we offer a lot of useful learning units in Ukrainian and in different other languages in order to support those who have been displaced in different countries. And it has also been happened that we help children and citizens as a whole to learn how multiculturalism could work in the daily life. And also having the opportunity to use learning unit translated in different languages, our children as well as our teachers or educators had the opportunity to improve their multilingual skills, because they could compare the same learning units in different languages. And of course, this was the practical view of the project, but we use our tools for improving social inclusion, for enhance and fostering specific competencies in different ways. Of course, I've seen it's been a huge project with a lot of partners, but we were not really satisfied of having only 14 different partners. We enlarged the network, and we involved in our project not only the knowledge partners, let me say all the project partners, but also the social and educational players, the policy players, and among the policy players, we also involved economic players, which used to play a key role in the society and in different multicultural societies in terms of orienting the different ways of policies, in terms of which kind of skills we need and which kind of people, and let me say young people we need and we have to train in order to afford and in order to be able and be ready for being in tune with the next challenges and the next strategies. And of course with technical experts, we worked with apps, we worked with different technical tools, and we have to recognize that we could learn from other experiences. And this is why we involve in our international advisory board some colleagues from Canada, where several issues like those involved in Kids for All have already well discussed, already well tested, as well as other colleagues from the US and beyond. So we have to think out of the box always, and specifically when we look at the Innovation Action Project. And this is why we add several activities beyond our grant agreements, and this because we understood along the project that more training activities should be necessary. And we learn that there is a lack of interaction, a lack of knowledge among educators and teachers working in different social contexts. And this is why we set up the cross-cultural workshops in order to develop a kind of common language among the different educational players. Because it is not only a matter of local context. Our young people are or should be ready to jump from one context to another, and should maybe be ready for working in different labor markets, or in at the local level, they should be involved in business companies where the teams used to be multicultural. So they have to be ready to understand what's going on everywhere, and sharing the same language could be an opportunity. And of course, we learn a lot of lessons. There have been some challenges. So we have to try and to recruit and to keep into the project engaged participants. So it doesn't only useful to say, okay, we have a great project, so please join us. We offer you a learning platform for your activities. It's not enough. We tried and we spent a lot of time in energize people and in try to convince teachers and other stakeholders about how it is important to train and to update knowledge. And of course, relation with children and young people requires to be ready to learn new languages. And it's not enough to say, okay, let's meet on Facebook. It's totally out of the bloom right now. And we learn a lot about how we can use TikTok or other tools, or how we can speak with different young people, belong to different social classes and belong to different social contexts. Of course, one of the biggest challenges has dealt with bureaucracy. And not only because I came from Italy, and for sure it is one of the most bureaucratic countries in the world, but because of managing the school year, interacting with different educational players, and try to be on time with all the activities, has been a huge challenge. But we organize several solutions, and we find, according to the skills of all the players involved in the project. And as partners, we learn a lot also from each other. And the project has been also an opportunity for all the involved partners in the project, not only for the target groups or the addressed audience. And of course, we are still in the process, and we are improving our learning platform, which is open to all, and all the actors could download the educational learning unit and can offer their insights in order to add some topics and improve the availability of the platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roberto, for this very interesting and engaging presentation. You mentioned several, I would say, key ingredients for skills when it comes to regional development, innovation, smart specialization. Languages is one of them, of course. Engagement, community engagement, service-oriented approach. So this is all fantastic. Thank you very much. Now we will have a second presentation. So the complementarity between the two is also in the, let's say, time lapse between the project. So the project that will be presented now has just started. Wow, the one I see is very, very advanced. And with this, of course, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So yes, this is a brand new project. It started in February 1st, and there's a typo here because it's last till 28 and not 29. And another caveat is that I am not the project coordinator, I'm the Hungarian partner, and hence I'm here. Project coordinator is the KU Leuven, Christoph de Witte, and he's behind all this. So anything I say is basically just a second-hand experience, besides the Hungarian part, obviously. So this is a brand new project, and if I have time later on, I might explain how it came alive, because I think it's very important for the valorization as well, because it has a history. So it's not like something from out of the blue. And there was this. The key challenge what we want to answer is basically how to understanding the efficiency and effectiveness of investment in quality education, how to optimize resources in order to achieve greater economic and social advancement. And all the partners, which I think it's coming in a minute of who the partners are basically from different angles. So I'm from a research institute. KU Leuven is a huge research university as well as teaching university. We have a social partner. We have a sociologist, economist, political scientist, psychologist, all kinds of people involved in this project in order to achieve this goal. The general objectives, which are basically four, is efficiency and effectiveness. I'm not going into detail what the difference is, but there are huge differences. Equal opportunities and cost-benefit assessment of the different policies within the EU states. There are four work packages, and what is if you look through them, like diversity, equity, teachers, trainers, instruction and learning, and efficiency in education, they are representing all segments of the education system. And well, the main aim of this project is basically to best utilize the qualities, the best qualities of the partners and of the partner institutions. We explicitly said that we cannot address all the issues in the education system because there are so many. So what we aimed for is basically each work package belongs to one partner. So mine is the instruction and learning, for instance. I'm the work package leader there. And obviously we try to use competencies from other institutions, but how we proposed this project was to utilize our overall competencies the best. Now, because this panel is about the valorization, I prepared lots of slides, a couple of slides on how we try to achieve, how to try to reach stakeholders. Now, obviously, there is a website which includes everything. This is like quite obvious. We also do policy briefs because, yes, we are mainly researchers. I am a researcher, so I publish papers. But Christoph is really, really pushing that anything we publish, it must be first put into a policy brief, which is basically talking to not only policymakers, but also the general audience. So if you read these policy briefs, they're written in a way that it's easily understood by anybody. So anything we deliver for the EU is appearing in one of these policy briefs as well. We also have a podcast where basically we discuss the papers in everyday language to the general audience. And you can go to Spotify, or you go to the website and go to Spotify from there to listen to this podcast. Now, there's not always in English. They're sometimes in Dutch. It will be a couple of in Hungarian. So it is because, you know, where we want to address the issue at which country. We will have videos, not on these policy briefs and not only research, but on very basic research methodology of what we are using, explaining the differences, the instrumental variable, and all kinds of econometric techniques that we are using. This is also, you know, some sort of to get more closer to the policy people. There are lots and lots of stakeholder summation. We just started, but I really suggest you look into this learning lab on investing in quality education and training, which is a European Commission initiative, but the project is very strongly involved in this. This learning lab is basically offering educational authorities or ministries policy evaluations of their initiatives, of their policies. So it's for free, and ministries can go there and ask for this policy advice. This is a European Commission initiative. We talk to ministry schools, etc. I'll go into detail later. Obviously, we have publications. You can go and download them if you're a researcher. Workshops, conferences. One is coming up in April in Leuven. There is another one in Hungary about a year from now in October. So we also do that. And obviously, we are very active in this social media, which is basically a must nowadays. Anything that comes after, I can go into detail later.
Thank you very much for this presentation. We are very happy to have the Hungarian partner on the panel, and also in Kids for All, I was also very happy to see that there is Hungarian representation that has expanded, so to include also the ministry. You have contributed also to some of the items that we can discuss then in the panel, in particular, again, focus on achieving economic impact, having the maximum the quality of education, all the partners involved, focus on inclusion and equality, which is also a key factor. And I know that you are very active when it comes to dissemination. This is actually how we have selected this project. I mean, it's a brand new project, but that has already achieved very good results. And I also thank you very much for bringing the point on the policy brief, so how to bridge the research policy gap, which is a key challenge. So having said that, of course, there we come to the third presentation, where, of course, here it's really about the role of the national contact points in reaching out to stakeholders, mobilizing participants, disseminating information on the outcomes of the project, and bridging the policy gap, research policy. So, Kimberly.
Thank you very much. All right, so as you can see from the title, I'm going to talk specifically about the way in which NCPs sort of fit into this whole knowledge valorization ecosystem. And to do so, I just wanted to quickly begin with a definition. I think that many of you who are attending the session may already be familiar with the notion of knowledge valorization, but the official way of understanding it is that it's really creating value both of a social and an economic form from knowledge. And this is really coming from the data, the results of projects funded by the European Union in the Horizon Europe program, but also maybe in other programs, that can really relate to solutions, policies that can be further taken up by various sectors to help address these grand societal challenges that we're facing: climate change, migration challenges, many that we know about, but not only in addressing, but also capitalizing upon the opportunities that are presented by the challenges that we're facing. So before moving on, I want to quickly explain what a national contact point is. For those who are maybe not familiar, we are essentially specific support structures of the European Commission. What that means more specifically is that we are nominated official research bureaus that are operated and financed at the national level. So that means that we are financed by our national ministries, and we are present in Pillar 2 for all of the various thematic clusters. There are also NCPs for the other pillars in Horizon Europe, but I'm primarily going to focus on Cluster 2, which is in Pillar 2. And something else that I want to point out is the fact that we are really highly informed and knowledgeable guides when it comes to participating specifically in the Horizon Europe program, and also other European framework programs. Another really important point to point out, or aspect to point out about NCPs, is that we are also really, we're a networked group of professional knowledge brokers. This isn't a way that we're normally talked about, but we actually really fit into this whole system in the sense that our job is to really help improve and increase the impact of the research that gets funded, specifically in Cluster 2, which I'm going to focus on, so that it has a life beyond just the maybe 3 to 4 year period in which the actual research activities are taking place. All right, so as Mina already pointed out, maybe a small correction as well, I'm not the direct coordinator of the Net for Society project, but I am part of the coordination team. But Net for Society, nonetheless, is the international network of Cluster 2 NCPs in Horizon Europe. We are an EU-funded project that will run the entire runtime of the Horizon Europe program, and it will go into the first year of the successor program. We are, as I already mentioned, a huge consortium of international partners. We've got 23 in total, plus 2 associated partners, and it's coordinated by my organization, the German agency, the German Aerospace Agency and the Program Management Agency, which is where I'm coming from specifically. We really work with a rather diverse group of stakeholders. So our primary responsibility is to help improve the nature and the quality of the services that are offered by national contact points in the Cluster 2 research domain. But beyond that, we really try to work hard to help support applicants in Cluster 2 to be successful in gaining funding Horizon Europe. We also work with stakeholders interested in bringing in the knowledge and the know-how and the research abilities of Cluster 2 partners in other parts of the Horizon program, which I'll talk about a little bit more, but that's specifically known as SSH integration. And then we also work with newer stakeholder communities that are active in the Horizon program, as well as applicants coming from the widening countries. So one of the things that NCPs do is that we work very, very hard on helping to foster a social, an impact mindset, and specifically a mindset that's focused on how to generate societal impact from the research that is going to be done in projects. One of the reasons why is because it's really important that researchers start to understand that there's more potential to the research that they're doing and the outcomes and the outputs and the outcomes of the research than just maybe support their academic careers. We want them to understand that they also have certain skills that we're really kind of focused on yesterday that are really important and that are valuable in other areas. And so the way that we do this as a project is that we first and foremost really focus on helping to strengthen NCP services. So we put on a lot of information sessions for NCPs around Europe and the world, where we're going to help them understand what it is that they need to be bringing to their research communities to help their researchers be successful. We also specifically work with applicants in helping them to understand, for example, this requirement of SSH actor contributions in many topics of the HUN-REN program, so that they really just kind of have more insight into what they need to be doing. And when it comes to this notion of SSH integration, that has a lot to do with collaboration. So we talk to them about, what does this type of collaboration, what is it for, and how should you be approaching it? We also really do a lot of work to help promote the results. So we already heard from both Roberta and Dániel about the way in which their projects go about disseminating the outputs of the research that's been going on, or maybe the results of maybe the innovation that's been happening. And so the way that we would do this is that we would use our own network channels, social media platforms to help broaden the reach of those outcomes, but we would also have these types of projects invited to not only network events for participants, but also as a way of helping other at national level understand, look, there's this great project that we learned about, for example, at this conference. They should be used as a best practice example to help research understand what you need to do in order to be successful in exploiting the outcomes of your research. So with this graphic, I wanted to just give you an idea of where the national contact points sort of sit. This is actually a graphic from the European Commission that shows the sort of actors and channels and tools that are involved in the process of knowledge valorization. I've really highlighted this middle point, which looks at intermediaries and knowledge brokers, and then the last one, which is looking at knowledge dissemination and policy uptake. The thing to understand about NCPs, we are not, for example, KTOs, we are not knowledge transfer offices, we're not technology transfer offices, but we're somewhat akin to these actors because we can, for example, work together with them in helping researchers understand what does it mean to valorize my research. As already mentioned, one of the things about this notion of knowledge valorization is that it is often already happening all the time. It's just not thought of that way. It's about the language, it's about translation, and so we try to help researchers to understand, you might be doing this already, but it might just be packaged in a different sort of framework. And something else to understand about the whole knowledge valorization process is the fact that it is usually understood from a very technical, commercial perspective. This isn't something that researchers should especially coming from the social sciences and humanities, they should not necessarily feel doesn't apply to them, but it's just going to require helping them to understand how do they fit into this framework. And so we can do this early on by helping them to understand the way that they need to phrase things in their applications, who they should be talking to, that they should be reaching out, for example, to their knowledge technology offices in order to understand the way in which they can be thinking in terms of greater impact of the research that they're doing. So to end, I just wanted to also mention a good practice example that is currently running. It's a project that goes by the name of Augmentor. It is funded in, it's a Cluster 2 project. It is currently funded under the HUN-REN program, and it is in the third destination of Cluster 2, which is social and economic transformations. I decided to go with this particular project because it also deals with many of the issues that have been discussed already at this conference, in particular skills. It's actually quite interesting because it's looking at the way in which you can make use of emerging technologies to help support learning in schools, and as well as helping teachers develop greater competencies, sort of like what Roberta was saying, that it's really important that educators also have up-to-date knowledge in order to be able to help their students. But one of the reasons why this particular project would be of interest to National Contact Points is because they have this really interesting deliverable, which is called an Exploitation and Bridge to Markets Activity Plan. So it's literally a specific plan on how to valorize a particular, I guess you could say, product that the project wants to develop, which is a pedagogical framework tool that can be basically brought to market and then shared more broadly and used in many different areas. So not just saved to one, say, country, but it could be used more broadly, sort of like the way in which the tools that were developed in Kids for All can also be shared more broadly. And so what's also great about this project, it also really focuses on the notion of transdisciplinary research collaboration, because there was an understanding that in order to really achieve the objectives and to achieve the outcomes that were required of this research, that they're going to need the help of those beyond academia. And so this is something else that we would be wanting to emphasize as NCPs to our researchers community, that in order to understand how to help the outcomes of your project, the outputs of your project along the way, that also means being flexible, opening up, learning how to cooperate with those who have certain types of know-how that maybe you don't have in order to be successful. So that's my last slide, and I'd like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you very much for also introducing the concept of knowledge valorization, which of course is a priority for my colleagues in DG Research and Innovation and their work with member states in the context of the European research area. And of course, when it comes to social science and humanities, it's a huge challenge. It's a matter of cultural institutional shift and change, lots of capacity building, but we are on the right way in our work. I also wanted to say that the role of the NCPs is extremely valuable also for us in the European Commission, in particular when it comes also to SSH, so social sciences and humanities integration, when it comes to drafting topic proposals, so building on the experience of the NCPs in your contacts with the different projects. We actually learn how best to draft the projects, topics, not projects, the topics, how best, because we consider that, of course, better SSH integration means better science, means better impact, so better applicability, which is also at the core of our discussion. We do have like 10 minutes. I have one question for each of you, but before that, I just wanted to check with the ones that are here whether you have some immediate feedback or question to the panelists. Yes, great.
Yes, thank you very much. I do have one question. I can, first of all, really relate to all presentations, so thank you very much. I come from an island region called La Réunion, which is both an outermost and a widening region, which is facing a lot of social challenges, and the whole objectives of our smart specialization and our participation in Horizon Europe is especially to address those social challenges. And we're also part of a starting widening project, which is called Wider Advanced Dissemination and Exploitation Facility, whose objectives is to maximize the impacts of former or current widening projects in the different regions and widening countries. And I was wondering if, and so far the vision I have is that we focus very too much on the economic dimension and not that much on the social dimension. So I was wondering what kind of support do you offer support? Is there a way to establish connections, to use the tools that you have developed, either for regional policy making or more globally to be integrated in those kind of valorization and dissemination exploitation facility that we will create in the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would someone volunteer to respond to the question?
Thanks for the question. If I rightly understood, because it is quite difficult somehow to bring the question in the right framework of different projects, but from our perspective as Kids for All partners, what we tried to do is to work a lot with different ministries of education, and we involved them since the very beginning of our proposal, before the submission, because we truly believe that without strong partners in the educational field, and I would say ministries of education used to be a strong partner in any country, we risk to not to be really well listen to a wider audience, specifically in the institutional context. Sorry. And this is why, along the project, we strongly involved them in different national stakeholder meetings we set up. And there we put a lot of effort in trying to afford different levels of governance, from the national to the regional and to the local ones. And this is why I think one of the key challenges has been and still is to try to update again the way of thinking and the way of looking at different learning process, those who are in charge for developing policies. And in a certain way, we tried in our project to start again what used to be missed several ways, which is the research policy nexus. And this is what we try to do, as Dániel said, according to our policy briefs, according to some notes we try to rewarding in order to be effective, of course, always scientifically speaking, but try to use those wording that policymakers or the economic players want to read and want to recognize as part of the same languages.
Yeah, so actually in very similar way, and so there are 4 levels of policy making, from the EU, national ministries, local and schools, I mean, you know, in education sense, at the very, very micro level. And in order to have an impact, I think you need to have a demand side. So each of these levels are required to wanting to listen to what the project or the researchers or, you know, the innovators are willing to say. But on our side, we need to be open to produce products that are understandable for them, right? And these are policy briefs, or I give you a concrete example is that I always had trouble, you know, communicating with the Hungarian education ministries or authorities for some reasons. But now, there is a need for the review of education expenditures in Hungary, demanded by the EU. And we are producing, in this project as well as before, a public education indicator system for like it's the 5th time, so it's 10 years already. And they realized that it exists. So suddenly, we are a useful resource. We've been doing it for 10 years and nobody listened, but now, because there's a demand for it, now suddenly the supply meets the demand. So basically, we are using public money to do stuff which we think that are important, and if there is ever demand for it, it's already there. I think this is one way of, this is the way I am thinking of producing understandable research.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any more to add. I think that they really hit on the head the way to really approach the question that you posed.
Thanks a lot. Actually, you were hinting towards the question that I wanted to ask, but just to say that, of course, Horizon Europe is about social and economic impact. Horizon Europe is based on co-creation, meaning with researchers, with stakeholders, with member states. It has a very specific policy framework also, and what is really important is that applicants and researchers, they're also aware of this policy framework. We need to link the political priorities to the research being done. Otherwise, we remain very good at the research, but very bad, or at least with lots of improvement in terms of scaling up and in terms of really applying the research results to the real life, which is, of course, I think an objective for all of us. So having said that, for the last 5 minutes that we have ahead of us, I really would like to focus on that, and then I would like to explore with you how we can better build, so how we can further foster the results of the projects that you have presented or that are ahead of you, for instance. So the skills and the competences that are being developed, how you can more effectively integrate this into a more regional perspective, or how you can support that a model that is being developed can be replicated to another region. So it's a huge question, I know.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because just what came to my mind, the thing about NCPs is that we also do work with, we try to work with all stakeholders who are in our, I guess you could say, purview. And so I could imagine, for example, if there were events where you would imagine it would be, yeah, it would make sense to work with your national NCP, your NCP, as a way of bringing in that research perspective, then that could be one way of helping to sort of bridge that gap of how to work, you know, in this research policy stakeholder nexus. I could imagine that that would be something.
Yeah, so here I think there is one actor is missing from among us, is the knowledge broker. So you're kind of like that, yeah. But you said you're not, but.
Well, we're not exactly the same, because really our responsibility as national contact points is to help inform and guide applicants through the framework program. But that also means that we need to be aware of the various support tools or systems that are also in place. We can't know everything, but we do often at our events have, say, these other knowledge brokers present who want to understand the way in which the programs are functioning.
Okay, very good. So I think NCPs are actors in between the EU and the research or the projects, right? So basically, it's the inflow from EU to project. What I'm talking about the other way, it's not to the EU the other way, but you know how projects. I mean, we are researchers and we are paid for publishing. I mean, my bonus comes from publishing in top-tier journals. This is where I get my money from. I don't have any stakes in doing policy briefs. I mean, the only reason I'm doing policy briefs is because we have promised this in the EFFECT project. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it, because why would I? Obviously, there would be inner incentives that, you know, I want to change the society, and whatever I publish in any journal, nobody's going to read it, and maybe a policy brief has a larger impact, but those are inner incentives. So these knowledge brokers are, I think, a must. And in Hungary, there are only a few, a very, very few. And this is the part, at least what I see, is really missing from my perspective. And I know that Christoph De Witte, the project coordinator in the EFFECT project, he's very good in this. He's very good in this knowledge brokering within Belgium. He's a Belgian guy. Within Belgium and to the EU. Maybe it has something to do with the EU headquarters being in Belgium.
Roberta, would you react to that also?
I want to skip the discussion dealing with the publish or perish in academia because it could be a bit tricky. But back to the question. In Kids for All, one of the perspective we really embraced since the very beginning was to test and validate something that could be policy transfer. And at the end, we developed a very interesting tool which could be transferred in different educational contexts. So this morning we heard that we can develop skills not only within the formal educational environments, but also taking account non-formal and informal ones. And this is, I mean, it could be an opportunity from Kids for All learning methods as well as Kids for All learning platform. This platform could be used everywhere. We still continue beyond the end of the project to train teachers, NGOs, volunteers, or NGOs, operators, social workers, but also we involved those who work in business companies because the multicultural environment is everywhere. It's not only at school, it's not only in the urban or semi-peripheral districts, it's also in the labor market. And taking account how citizenship skills could be managed or could be useful in order to valorize all the different human capital you can hire in different economic sectors could be an added value for all. And if you learn this from the very beginning of your educational path, you are quite ready, not ready at all, but you are quite ready to afford the challenges of the next years.
Thank you very much. Very inspirational. Speaking about the challenges for the next years, of course, we are currently facing the challenges for drafting the last 2 years of Horizon Europe work program. So for me, this is extremely useful as a discussion. Would there be any additional feedback from the audience? Comment, feedback? No? Then with this, maybe I can ask you a question that I heard recently in a conference, just to close this session, which for me it was a pleasure. What are you hopeful for? Then you can also say a key message that actually you retained from this session and that you would like to see being implemented.
I would say I'm hopeful to continue seeing the understanding of what research can really offer and what it's needed to do continue. I think I've been seeing a lot of that taking place recently, and it's really exciting, and I really hope to see that continue.
Actually, very, very similar to that. I mean, so my generation of research, which I'm not that young anymore, but I'm not that old either, we have been basically forced to publish in top journals. Before me, it wasn't a necessity. So before me, so one generation above me, it wasn't really necessary. I'm hoping for, and I see trends, that in the next generation, people are not going for these scientific publications, which are important, but more for the impact part. More for so doing very good research, but also very highly focusing on how to translate that into everyday language and, you know, this knowledge brokering or knowledge transfer.
And from my perspective, I would argue that in the next future, maybe in each project, we could well understand and, of course, well valued the social impact and, of course, to try to better understand how it could be useful to start from looking at the social cohesion challenges, and on these challenges build up the next valued educational or working path.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. So please join me in applauding my panelists.